Continuing my review of the various settings here in the tabs of the Publish Settings dialog, we get to the Files tab. Use the Files tab to set file options for projectors. By default, a projector consists of just the current movie, but you can add external casts to the movie by using this tab. You can also exclude extra extensions from your projector. I'll be covering extra extensions a little bit later in this section of the tutorial. Starting at the top, notice the primary movie is called Wine in this example. I can include linked cast files by checking that option. I can exclude all extras by choosing the second option. If you select this, all extras are placed in the extra directory within the directory where the projector file is published. Consider this option when publishing a movie in the projector or Shockwave format. You will not need this option when publishing to a cross-platform projector, to an HTML or to an image file. Next, you have compress files in the Shockwave format. This lets you compress files for a Shockwave projector as you would for standard Shockwave content. This will make your final file much smaller. Usually, I enable that option. Next, you have copy linked and dependent files. Linked and dependent files are automatically copied to the relative path of your projector. This is as they are added to the movie file. Linked files and dependent files in an absolute path are copied to the linked folder and dependent folder, which are automatically created in the movie path during this publishing. For Shockwave files, the linked files and dependent files are created within a folder called DSW Media that is created during publishing. I talked about this DSW Media in a previous movie. Now this is one of the more complex and confusing options here, because external cast files for projectors will be converted to .cxt files and placed in a path relative to the projector file. For Shockwave files, the external cast files are converted to .cct files and placed within the DSW Media folder. So what I recommend that you do is do some trial experiments with this option enabled and disabled. Notice where things are going and notice the relative paths that are being created by a director to get a handle on what's really happening with this option, copy linked and dependent files. If you're going to have problems with your publishing, this is one of the ones you'll have problems with. So spend some extra time reviewing this option. Next, you have a button here labeled Add Dependent Files. Click on this button to add any dependent files to the project. Any files other than extras, linked files, and linked casts can be considered as a dependent file. This option is typically used for files referenced through scripting. If you select a dependent file from a folder that is within the movie folder or its subfolders, the file is published to a folder relative to the projector file. If you select a file outside the movie folder, the file is copied to the dependent files folder in the root folder of the projector file. To make this easier, I would recommend setting up your folder structures as I mentioned in a previous movie. That movie was entitled Proper Planning of Director Projects. Let me go ahead and demonstrate adding a file in this dialog here. Let's add the AC Run Active Content script file. Click on Open. Now notice that when you add dependent files, the source of the dependent file, the location to which it will be published, and its file type appear in the respective columns here of the Add Dependent Files area above my button. Type is JavaScript. There's the destination, and there's the source of where it's getting the file. I find that this is the trickiest part of publishing for most of my students. So again, go through these options carefully, run through some experiments, and also notice where Director is publishing all of these various files. To remove files from the list, simply click on the file and then press the Remove Files button. Pretty straightforward. The Check Files button is really handy. Use this to check whether dependent files exist in the specified location. The button below here, Add Additional Director Movies and Casts, are for doing just that, adding Director DIR files or cast files to this Director project. You have some more options down here. The Play Every Movie in List allows you to play all the movies in your movie list that you added up above. The Loop option will continuously play the movie until the movie is closed. In the next movie, I cover the various options here in the Shockwave tab of the Publish Settings dialog.